So while we wait for another minute or so, the props that I have are the usual. A couple of blocks and a blanket. I have a strap nearby. And you are welcome to be seated in a chair, on a balance ball, or on the floor. If you're feeling like the low back is tight and is already pretty tense, go ahead and maybe put a little cushion, give yourself a little wedge under your seat, elevate yourself. And if anyone is just coming in and has any requests for practice, go ahead and put those in the chat. And I'll move a little closer so I can read them. So as we settle in, invite the eyes to rest. Consider taking a deep inhale in through the nostrils and releasing it through the mouth, perhaps with an audible sigh. Deep inhale. Releasing, letting go. Spinning palms to face forward. Bringing movement into fingers and perhaps some movement into the toes. And let's take a look over to one side. So I'm mirroring perhaps your left side. And we may drop a hand down and turn the chin in that direction and give the head a little nod. Just checking in with the neck. How is the neck feeling in this position, this orientation? So we'll move back to center and try that on the second side. So we'll look in second direction and maybe we've got a little stiffness more so on one side than the other. So turning the head slowly, releasing the hand down, and maybe there is a little nod. We can nod and work in one direction. Maybe we draw a little circle with the chin or nose tip. And then find our way back to center. And let's connect the palms, rubbing the hands together. And we may just take a moment to bring the hands to the back and the neck. Just starting to find a little bit of self-massage at the back of the neck. We might tip the head back to enhance the pressure. Maybe you're feeling this in your chest or shoulders too, lifting the arms, the elbows up and overhead. We may walk the fingers down the back of the neck. And then perhaps we just take the fingers right across the rocky shoulder tops, we'll call it. Maybe chin dipping down. And we may grab a couple of props and start to tip in, leaning forward. Maybe a little glide side to side. We might be feeling into those outer thighs, into the hips a little bit. Maybe the low back, head. Again, might nod. And let's slowly roll on up. Notice which leg you have either on top or in front. And let's take a moment to fully extend the legs. Give a little wiggle through the knees, circle the ankles around, circle second direction. And let's trade the cross of the legs. So we have that second leg on top, perhaps wobble rocking, sits bones back. And again, we'll look to that first side, so maybe left side, and we might have the hand on a block or the floor, chin in that direction. And perhaps we're raising the opposite arm and starting to find a little more lead, a little more side bend. And then we may come all the way up, trading sides. So second hand down. Perhaps that left arm lifting up and over. Maybe a little movement through the fingers. Maybe we bend and extend the elbow. Let's bring ourselves back up to the middle and invite the shoulders to roll. The head might find a little movement, and let's pause, go the other way. Mobilizing shoulders, second direction, just feeling into it. Maybe there's a little movement through the ribs. Where are we at this Monday afternoon? So weaving hands together now, consider circling the wrists and trading direction with the wrist circles. We may press hands down, chin towards chest. We may bend the elbows, scoop the arms up, and take it as low or as high as you like. So maybe we're reaching up and overhead. Bend one elbow. We may slide the ribs out. Trading sides. We might find those little movements, those little shifts, side to side to side through the ribs. Releasing the fingers back down to the ground. Finding those props, trying out the forward bend with the second leg in front or on top. Full breath. Hands maybe planted, elbows maybe bent, getting into the wrists, the forearms. Maybe it's all about chest and shoulders. We'll all be a little bit different. And slowly, slowly rolling all the way up. Tip on back. Let's extend the legs again. Get a little wiggle through those knees. Circling the ankles around. Move in second direction. And then let's cross the ankles. We may use the blocks for support, pressing down to pour ourselves into a standing forward fold. So let the head be heavy, let the neck be long. Now, if a deeper forward bend is just not on the menu right now, for whatever reason, you can always have your hands on a chair back, a chair seat. You can have a lot of bend in the knees. We may be nodding the head, circling the head. Stretch the bottom jaw away from top jaw. Perhaps we lean the hips over to one side and start to put a little bit of bend in that knee. It may already be there. Move back through the middle. Starting to lean the hips to the other side, a little bit of bend in the knee. And we'll gradually rise up. So if the feet are wider than hips distance apart at the moment, let's step them closer together. Going for long side bodies, walking the block hands over towards the right. So as we move to the right, maybe we put more bend in the right knee and roll the left hip back. And if we're super mobile through that left knee, we might have to back off that left knee too. And then slowly move back to the middle. Give yourself a little rock forward and back. We may tip back on the heels. We may roll forward, peel the heels up. Let the heels land, walk the hands around to the second side, putting bend in that second knee. We'll find our way back to the middle, rolling in. We may find a little nod of the head. We may put bend in the knees, rooting to rise. Let the arms rise, invite the gaze to rise, thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. Now, if you feel lightheaded at all coming out of the forward bend, maybe don't pick the gaze up towards the ceiling. That may just exacerbate that lightheadedness. So from standing, consider bringing the feet right together and just finding a little rock back and forth. Fan the toes, let the toes open wide. Playing with that balance, and then put a little bend in the knees, hands just above the knees. Start to circle the knees. So the ankles are mobilizing, circling the knees around. Trade direction. Let's move in second direction. And we'll come back to the middle. Coming up to stand and take those feet a little wider apart. Find those little shifts side to side. Perhaps we swing the arms. So one arm forward, one arm back. And there may be just a very gentle knock on the back and knock on the belly. You might try out a gentle knock on the upper chest. Let's slowly bring those feet in a little bit, move it into the hips. So just regular circles are fine. So you can circle one direction, try out the other direction, mobilizing the hips. But maybe we try out figure eights with the hips and try the second direction. Let's bring it back to stand. You're welcome to come to a wall. I'm going to pretend that I'm at a wall first, and then I'll demo at a wall as well. So pretend there is a plexiglass wall. You can see my body through that. And we'll raise the arm all the way up. So think about that as 12 o'clock. You've got your hand, palm is facing, palm is on the wall or the pretend wall. If it's pretend wall, you're pressing into it. And then take the hand backwards. So depending on which way you're standing, you're heading towards 11 or 1. And then maybe we drop a little lower, so we're heading towards 3 or 9. And a little lower. We might even start to turn the body away from the hand. Ooh, a little lower. So we're heading towards 6, but not in a speedy way. We might press right into the wall at 6 and rotate the torso away from the real or imaginary wall. And then let that go. And I'll demonstrate on the actual wall with the other side. So let your second hand rise up, real wall or pretend wall. How close into the wall do you want to be? Probably not that close. Get a little further away if you're using an actual wall. And this might be enough. So this is the 12 o'clock position. And if you're loving 12, stay here. Maybe we stay, adapt, and rotate. But we may start to slide the hand a little further back. We might find that little bit of rotation away from the wall. We might move it back in, let that hand drop back. So again, we're heading towards 6. It doesn't mean you have to hit every area along the way. You're trying them out. Some might feel a lot better than others. Once we've got that 6 o'clock position, that'll be our last position on this side. We'll unwind, release, bring a little movement into the wrists. Second side, second direction. And let's find our way. We might already be there, the top short edge of the mat. Fan the toes, spin the palms forward. Invite the arms to rise, the gaze to rise. And as we exhale, find a forward fold. We'll give a little nod to the head, maybe that circle nod to the head, stretch the jaw. And let's send left leg back. So we'll reach back, we'll do that left leg. Watch out for anything left on the mat. So we might find a little movement forward, a little movement back, getting the toes, getting to that left thigh, front of the left hip. Let the hips rise. Maybe we're tapping that back foot in until we feel ready to step it forward, looking out. And exhale, tipping in, tipping down. Let's inhale, rise halfway up, second side. So we're reaching that foot back, and I'm going to hit that block again. So I'm just going to move it out of the way. So we're finding that little shift forward, little shift back. How are your toes? The front of the right hip, front of the thigh. Invite the hips to rise, tap, tap, navigate the leg in, stepping foot forward. Exhale, folding all the way down in. Consider putting some bend in the knees, rooting to rise, arms high, thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart, perhaps hands on hips, rolling the elbows back. We can stick with that. We may weave the fingers together. Check the head. The head tends to jut forward, and I'm exaggerating a lot, but slide the head back. And we may extend the arms. And perhaps we tip to one side, bring it back to the middle, fan the toes, tip to the other side, bring it back to the middle, release the hands forward, circle the arms high, and exhale, find that forward fold position. So we have right foot forward, the left leg again reaching back. So we may lower the back knee towards the ground, and we might just visit. You might know immediately that you're going to want some knee cushion for this. Send the hips high, working the legs towards straight. So a lunge bend, possibly into both knees. Maybe we're rising up, shoulders up a little bit higher. We might spin the blocks up. And again, extending front leg. Take a few moments, settling into it. And let's lunge bend. We can definitely keep the hands down. Maybe we're bringing hands up onto the thigh. Maybe it feels good to lift the arms overhead. These are just possibilities, and you can certainly be further back. Let's go ahead and extend both legs. And then bending back into the front knee, stepping the back leg, left leg forward. Let's bring the right leg right back. So rocking, shifting into it, settling in. Maybe that back knee is on the ground. And we're just saying hello as first check in. Maybe we're moving, knee padding over. Let the hips rise. And again, this can just be a hello. Maybe we're not working the legs to straight just yet. Bending down, front knee, back knee possibly. Maybe hands coming up a little higher, shoulders over hips. We may tuck the back toes and invite the hips to rise again. Neck to lengthen. And one more time. As we come down, shoulders over hips. Perhaps we're lifting the arms up and overhead. Maybe not dropping the head back. We might even decide to put the hands behind the head to give the neck some support. And let's go ahead and work both legs closer to straight. And this time, as we bend that knee again, we're just going to step that back leg forward, looking out. Exhale, tip on in, and perhaps we walk it back into a down face dog position. So we may be pedaling the heels, shifting the hips, maybe tilt nodding the head side to side. We may adjust the feet further back, find our way forward into plank, land the knees coming down onto the belly. Finding our way onto the elbows, the forearms. It may be a still sphinx. Maybe we grab a block and rest the brow. Connecting with breath. Maybe your sphinx is exploring a little bit of movement, a tip lean to the right, chin to the right. Lengthening left side body, we may bend that left knee. Maybe a little movement through the knee. Breathing, checking in with any tensioning along that left side body. We may circle the lower leg. Moving back to the middle, maybe just a little glide at center. And then tip leaning to that second side. So perhaps that second knee bends. We might experiment with a little bit of movement in the lower leg. And then releasing, finding our way back to the middle, heart rising, lengthening front body. And then coming all the way down to the ground. Turn the nose to one side. Invite the shoulders to drape. The eyes to rest, the body to sigh. We may roll the heels out towards the long edges of the mat just a little bit. How does that feel on the low back and the hips? We may gently roll them in. Maybe there's a little movement in and out. Plant the hands, heart rising, chest rising. Turn the head in the second direction. Resting second cheek. Reach the hands back. The body may sigh. Let's plant the hands, heart rising. Roll on back towards a child's pose. Perhaps we take a block and support the ground. We may keep bend in elbows. We may start to work the arms closer to straight. Perhaps we creep the fingers a little further forward. And the fingers wide, hug the belly muscles in, rounding up. Now we have a cat pose, but maybe that cat is dancing. Shifting a little bit, side to side. A little more lateral movement than we usually see an actual cat do. And then dipping the belly into cow pose. And maybe that cow is dancing and the head is swaying or nodding. We may bring the hands forward, tuck the toes, lifting the hips, down face dog. So as we pedal through the feet, if you're not a lover of down dog, if you would prefer to stay on forearms and knees, or maybe put your forearms on a chair seat and stand in the forward bend, that works too. Let's center the left leg, raise the right leg up in the air, draw the knee to the nose as we round the back, and inhale, extend. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Draw the knee to the nose, step the right foot forward between the hands, and let's cycle that right arm up in the air into our twist lunge position. So from our twist lunge, we can absolutely stay here. We might put that back knee down again. Now maybe we need to adjust the left hand or get off the wrist. You could stack your blocks, put the forearm there. But maybe we take that top elbow and draw the top elbow towards the middle of the back. We may reach up through the arms, start to extend the legs, and reach the right fingertips diagonally over towards the left upper corner of the mat. So repeating, we may lunge bend, twist, back knee up or back knee down. Either variation, maybe we're bending that elbow. We might even start to reach the hand back like we're going to go for that right foot at some point. So lift the hips and perhaps take right fingers towards that left upper corner of the mat. And once again, just one more time. Find our way into your preferred version of the twist to the right, maybe with a bend in that elbow. And this time as we reach up, let the hands land and consider step sliding. Watch out for obstacles. That right leg back into dog. So we may be finding those little shifts side to side. We may drop the weight to the right and peel the left heel up, pivoting the left heel to the right. And trading sides. Let's wiggle the feet on back, glide forward, find that high plank position, muckle the fingerprints to the ground, but perhaps we shift the weight into the right hand, transition onto left forearm, and then onto right forearm. So that we're holding a forearm plank with some rounding in the back, a lot of engagement in the belly. So strengthening can be really great for the low back. You can put the knees down at any point. So once the knees do land, let's go ahead, bring the elbows forward again. Find that lift, that length. Check in with the neck instead of just thrusting the head back, which I was definitely doing. Go ahead and bring the neck more in line with the rest of the spine. We might give the hips a little wobble. Maybe we're noticing more tightness in the front body. And maybe it's more on one side than the other. Go ahead, release down. Let the hands, slide the hands backwards, lift the heart, roll on back into child's pose. And again, we may be creeping fingertips forward and maybe in towards one another. And this time, perhaps we slide the hands back. Consider if you would, your knees would appreciate some knee padding. Go ahead and lug it in. We'll come forward onto our knees, tucking the toes. So toes tucked under, that might be enough. We might be slowly sitting back. Feel free to get the fingers involved so that the smallest toes aren't getting scrunched, they're getting stretched too. We might turn right heel to the right, a little left to the left. Maybe even little wiggles side to side too, for enhancement purposes. Might be enhanced enough. So as we come off, we'll point the feet. Do you want padding on the top of the feet? So maybe we're shifting forward so the bonier part of the foot has the push now. And we're breathing. And maybe we don't have a lot of stretch in the ankles or the tops of the feet yet. And if that's the case, maybe we're tipping back. And it could be one knee at a time rising. We might lift both together. We might find little shifts side to side. So if it's one at a time, make sure you do swap and try the other side too. And then we'll bring it forward and consider down dog, hands and knees, or maybe you're coming to the chair. Hips rise. Settling in, maybe a little nod of the head, inviting more freedom through the back of the neck. Slacken the cheeks, the jaw, center the right foot. Let the left leg rise. Draw the knee to the nose with the exhale. Inhale, extend. Knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Knee to nose, step the foot forward between the hips, and maybe we put that back knee down right away. We might pad the knee. Right hand to the right. Cycling left arm forward, up in the air, finding a twist, but maybe we just choose to hold back knee off the ground. Remember, we have variations, all kinds of possibilities. So maybe that back knee is down, and perhaps we're drawing the elbow towards the mid-back. And we may tuck the toes and reach the left fingers on the diagonal to the right as we work the legs closer to straight. And then we'll repeat your preferred version of the twist for now. Maybe extending that left arm back like you're reaching for the foot behind you. And taking left fingers diagonally to the right, sending the hips back. And let's do one more twist. And this time, as we rise up and cycle the hands down, let's go ahead and step all the way back to dog, but take a walk with your hands. You might shift the weight to one side, then the other, navigating. Hands back to the toes. And perhaps we put bend in the knees and circle the big toes. Give a little nod to the head, hips may lift, may reach a little bit higher. Putting bend back into the knees, forearms onto the thighs. Take your time. Sink the hips lower, lower. Let the head gradually rise higher. We may be coming up to stand. We may lift the arms. We may lift the gaze. Thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. And we may be at that back short edge of the mat. Hands on hips, elbows back. If we're weaving the hands together, try to bring that second favorite thumb on top. We'll roll the shoulders back. We'll extend the arms. We may put bend in the knees, ribs towards thighs, taking those bound arms up and overhead. Rebending the elbows. Let the hands come down to the ground and let's walk it back out. So as the hands move forward, center the left leg, right leg rising. We may spin the hips open to the right. We may be bending that right knee. I have a cat trying very hard to get in. I will just make that possible. So when you feel ready, go ahead and draw that right knee into the chest. Navigate right foot forward between the hands. Get really light on the fingers. And the arms may rise. Maybe hands to the thighs first, to the hips. Fan the toes. The arms may rise. The gaze doesn't have to, it might. Little movement through the fingers. And then perhaps palms back to the heart or even onto the thigh. Tip, lean forward. Start to press off those back toes. And maybe that's it. Maybe we just press off the toes and release. It helps to fix your gaze on something that won't move. So you might tap, tap, navigate that back leg in. And think about coming all the way up to stand. So we'll push off that back leg. We'll draw the left knee, the back knee up and into the chest. And then just let the leg release down. Shifting it out. If you would like to use the wall to help with a one-legged balance, go ahead and come to the wall with your hand and step the right foot back, toes tucked under. A little more balance challenge, bend left knee, float the right foot off, but go ahead and bend the knee. We may reach back and hold the foot and point the knee down to the ground. Now I'm looking down at the ground, and if you notice you're doing that too, lift the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. What did the knee do when we did that? So sometimes we've got the gaze down, we have that knee to knee alignment, But we lift the gaze up, and that knee might swing forward or out to the side. So do your best just to be mindful about knee placement, gaze placement, and release it. Shift it out, let it go, checking in. We might pause for a moment. Fix your focal point, your drishti. You might even close your eyes. It may impact your balance. Turning the awareness inwards. Notice the breath. Notice that right half of the body compared to the left half of the body. We may have some very different internal sensations side to side. Lift, fan the toes. Let the arms rise. The gaze may rise. And as you exhale, pouring forward, the hands may come down to the ground. I'm going to spin around for the second side. So let the feet walk backwards. So perhaps we're pedal shifting the feet, centering right leg, and inviting that left leg up in the air. And we may bend the knee, and we may let that left hip roll over the right. Maybe we put a little bend in the right knee. Maybe we're working right leg closer to straight. Maybe we pour more weight into that left hand. Starting to draw the left knee in towards the chest. The back is rounding, and we might just hang out there. Maybe that feels really good in the back. Stepping left foot forward between the hands. Use your blocks if you like. Hands may climb up onto the thigh. Hands may find the hips, fan toes. Find breath. Perhaps the arms rise. And again, the gaze does not have to come up, but it might. And we may connect the palms, bring them in front of the heart, playing with that balance, or just put the hands on the thigh. Maybe we even tap the back foot in a little. And we may just shift through the foot. Finding breath and body, building up the heat in that outer left leg. And if and when you're feeling ready, of course, watch out for anything that might be too close to your head. Start to really load that left leg coming up to stand. Bring that right leg with you. Maybe it's a one-legged balance. We may reach out, rebend, release. Shift it out in any way that feels good to you. And perhaps we're finding the wall with the hand. And perhaps we're stepping. I realize I forgot the twist on that side. We may be stepping that left foot back. We may be bending the knee. We might be holding on to the foot. And just notice, did the chin drop? Can it rise? Maybe we're taking wall hand off. Maybe we're even holding the foot with both hands, rolling shoulders back. So let's come back up to a short edge of the mat. And you may want to have your knee padding available. And I will put it on, let's see, the left knee will be down first. So put it on the left side of the mat. So let's bend palms forward, sink the hips, bend the knees, tuck the ribs back, invite the arms high. As we exhale, tip on in. Let's navigate back, find your dog position. Letting the neck continue to lengthen. Perhaps we wiggle the feet a little further back, slide on forward, and we may shift right forearm to the ground, left forearm to the ground. And we may hover, hold, forearm plank position. Whenever you feel ready to, let the knees come down, invite the heart to rise. So we're finding Sphinx. And then release all the way down. And make sure you've got a little room around you for wingspan here. So let's slide the hands back, lift the heart, lift the chest, but we're staying on the belly. And the arms might extend. And perhaps we tip lean to one side. So one arm, one shoulder rising. Find the middle, tip lean, second side. And we may bring it back to the middle. We may take a rest. We might feel ready to weave the hands together and lift the legs, lift the heart. Tip leaning to one side. Bring it back to the middle, tip lean, second side. Bring it back to the middle and releasing down, resting on a cheek. You choose which cheek. Give a little wiggle to the hips. Perhaps the body size. So let's slide the hands forward. Come up onto the forearms. Lengthen. And let's again bend the right knee. So just check in, how does your back feel with this, with knee bending? Release it, try out that left knee. So really notice the response in the hips, maybe around the sacrum, the low back. Maybe we're not even going this far. We might not go any further. So you might choose to line your left forearm up under the chest and bend the right knee and reach back for the right hand. Hold the foot. Be careful that you're not pushing the foot out to the side, but you're hugging the heel kind of towards the butt cheek, the outer hip. It's an awkward angle for the shoulder and elbow. The elbow is trying to point up, kind of like a grasshopper leg, head of the shoulder rolling forward, maybe chin towards the ground. Releasing, and let's try second side. So this is a half frog pose, or it is half Bakasana, so we might be reaching back, find the top of the foot, roll the head of the shoulder forward down. We might turn the chin opposite the elbow that may be pointing towards the ceiling. And releasing. So we'll find our way back to the middle, hands down, roll on back into a child's pose. Maybe we make this a wide knee child's pose. Maybe you're grabbing the block. Maybe brow all the way down to the ground. What feels good in your shoulders, in your hips, in your low back? And then sliding the hands in, and then just in case, maybe it did go into the low back a little bit, because that can definitely happen if you're already sensitive there. You might want that knee padding actually under both knees for this possibility. And we can do both sides. If you have that side of your back or hip that's talking to you, maybe you want to start with that side. So let's say you slide left leg back, left foot back. Consider tipping the heel over towards the left. Just let the right foot, right knee follow. We'll come back to the middle and we'll go the other way. So you'll swing the right foot to the right, left heel to the right. Give yourself a few moments to breathe through left hip, left side body, wherever it is you may be feeling it. And perhaps we repeat. So you're rolling that side hip, that outer hip, down towards the floor. It might not actually be facing the ground. And then we try that second side. So right foot back, and the heel can roll to the right. Right heel high, and we're swinging in second direction. Or maybe find a spot along the way where you want to hold a little longer. But we'll just repeat one more time in each direction. We'll find our way back to the middle. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, center left foot, inviting that right leg to rise. And perhaps we're stacking right hip on top of left. Drawing right knee into the chest, step right foot forward between the hands, and maybe we're dropping down on the back knee. If you need to shorten the distance between front foot, back knee, go for it. We may cycle, right arm up in the air. Maybe we sink a little lower into that crescent lunge position. We may bend the back knee. We may grab the back foot, maybe the heel. And releasing, letting that foot come down. Invite the hips to rise, and I'm going to spin around in just a moment. Cycle the right fingertips diagonally towards the left. Let that left leg extend towards straight, but consider continuing to walk the hands to the middle of the mat, pivoting the toes to face that long side of the mat. So we find ourselves in a wide-legged forward fold. Maybe a little nod in the head, circle nod in the head. We may peel the heels of the hands away from the floor. Let's rise halfway up. Walk the hands back around to the right, pivoting all the way around. Let's step back into down face dog. Shift out anything that feels right. You may want to make sure you've got that knee padding near that left leg for yourself. And I'll stay on this side for now. So we'll center the right foot and we'll let that left leg reach up in the air. Draw the knee, and you might actually first stack the hips and then bend that top knee. So rolling the hips open before drawing left knee towards the chest, stepping left foot forward between the hands. Maybe we're dropping back knee on the ground. Back toes tucked or pointed. Your knee may have a preference for that. And we may find our way into the twist variation. Bent elbow, extended arm, maybe bent knee, grabbing hold of the foot. Re-extending the legs, tuck those back toes. Let the legs come high. So we're taking that left hand on the diagonal towards that upper right corner of the mat. And then just pivoting around. You don't have to flip around on the mat. I'm just doing that so that I can continue to face you. And we might find those little shifts through the hips. Perhaps we encircle the big toes, first two fingers and a thumb as we tip in. Bending into elbows. The head is on the ground, heel toe the feet closer together. We can always put more bend in the knees. Invite the heart to rise. Pivot left toe left, find that lateral lunge. Walk the hands around. Let's plant the hands, but this time let's come back up to the top short edge of the mat. So maybe it's a tap, tap, tap. Step that back foot in, look out. Exhaling, chest to thighs. So we may rise halfway up. Consider grabbing a block, pivot the feet out, peel the heels up, and we might bring ourselves down into a squat. So we may do another standing one-legged balance. So like me, you're wearing some socks, even with the traction things on the bottom. Maybe we want to get rid of those so there's less chance of slipping. We're just finding our squat position, fan toes. Maybe you have a wedge under the heels. And consider rising part way up. So we're rooting to rise to bring ourselves back up to stand. We'll find the top short edge of the mat, right foot forward, left leg navigating back. And maybe we wiggle back through that back heel, lunge bend into that front knee. And the arms may rise, warrior one. We may have hands on hips. We may go for that bind behind the back. We may extend the arms and tip leaning forward. Taking down arms perhaps overhead. But then rising up so it's more active, the chest is parallel to the ground. It balances feeling, if you don't keep the hands behind the back, put them on your thigh. Pitch forward again, watch, make sure your head isn't going to hit anything. Instead of coming all the way up to stand this time, chest will stay parallel to the ground. We may rise up, but we move backwards. We may rise up and extend the arms, perhaps like you did on your belly. We might find a balance point. Maybe we drop those right fingertips to point towards the ground and then pull that left knee in, coming up to stand. We may extend the leg, release, shift it out. We may take the right foot back, We may bend the knee, hold the foot. We may raise the left arm. We may bend standing knee, left knee, press the right foot into the hands, finding our way into more of a back bend, dancer's pose. And then rising back up and releasing. So let's try that second side. We have left foot forward and right foot back. And we're lunge bending into front knee. Hands can stay low. The arms and gaze may rise, or just one or the other. Hands to hips, swap the weave of the fingers. We may extend the arms, tip lean forward. We may rise up so the chest is parallel to the ground. And again, we're coming forward. Maybe you switch where your hands are to play with that balance. We may be extending our arms. And again, let's watch out, make sure we're not going to hit anything. Maybe we're bending that standing knee. Bringing the arms more towards a T position, bending the top knee, coming all the way back up to stand. And perhaps reach out through the leg, rebend, release. Right into left toes back. Maybe bending knee, holding foot. Maybe raising right arm. We may press the foot into the hand. Finding some back bend with dancer's pose. And we'll slowly bring ourselves back to stand. Shifting out anything that needs it. And let's come back to the top short end of the mat. Sink hips, bend knees, ribs back. Reach the arms high. And exhale, tipping in. Give the head a little nod. Walk the feet back. Let's slide left shin forward. So we're navigating down into a pigeon. Sliding those right foot back, the right foot back. Maybe you're putting a wedge. It could be a blanket. Those blocks are kind of hard and angular. You might want something softer underneath the hips. And we might rock a little down to the right. Open it back up to the left. Moving to the right until you find the perfect spot to hold. So you're closing the eyes, supporting the brow. Settling into the breath. And if you feel like you went a little deeper than necessary, back it off. Maybe slowly rising up, shifting to the left, bending that right knee out to the right, finding that pinwheel shape. Give yourself a few moments. And perhaps we bring the right foot in front of the left foot and support the knee. Maybe that left hip just says, no thanks, I want the leg extended. If that's the case, go ahead and do that. We may be rotating, twisting towards the right. And if there just isn't room, there isn't space, go to the open door side, go to the left. We'll take a moment to unwind and we'll bring the right leg forward. Tip leaning, coming into second side, pigeon a little differently. So you're just navigating that left leg back. But maybe we're doing those rocks, maybe we're tipping to the right. Checking in, and maybe that's the spot for now. And then we may tip left. Maybe we're staying there or just continuing to very gently explore what's going to be right for the next minute or so. You are welcome to fold in or back yourself out. We're folding in. Perhaps we can find some support for the brow, letting the eyes rest, the jaw slacken. Remember that you are welcome to stay longer. We may be tipping to the right, bending that left knee and rising up and just sitting with it as we come out of it. Perhaps we have left foot in front of the right. Maybe we're extending right leg. And we're twisting in the second direction. We'll slowly unwind, and as we come up, this is a little different than the original cross-legged seat we did at the beginning of practice. We're thinking about that dorsiflexion of the ankle, so you're drawing the toes towards the knee. We're thinking about holding it and coming shin to shin. So shin to shin, toes moving in towards one another. It might feel a little awkward. And we may find a couple of blocks. Ooh, and just try it a little bit of lean. You might find this much more intense in those hips. And we may take our hands to one side towards one knee, a little bit of a diagonal forward fold. Rise up. Second knee. And as you feel ready, we'll tip back and just trade the cross of the shins. So navigating in, drawing toes towards one another, finding that centered forward fold. And maybe it's just getting good and you stay a few breaths longer, and then we take our torso, our hands, our blocks diagonally over one knee. Take your time, rising up when you're ready, moving diagonally over second knee. And gradually rising all the way up, tip on back, extend out through the legs, give a little wiggle through the legs, twirl the ankles around. Let's bring ourselves to a place where maybe your mat is right at a wall, short end of the mat at a wall. You can use a chair with bent knees if you don't have a wall. If you have a blanket, let's have it so it has a kind of a nice even fold, and just have that nearby as well. Then if you happen to have a strap and you're comfortable extending the legs straight, go ahead and grab the strap. And we'll make a loop in the strap. So you're just weaving the strap through your plastic or your metal buckle. And you're making a fairly large ring. And take the buckle and make sure that it's not on your skin, maybe it's in the middle. And then bring the strap around your lower legs. And you don't have to tighten it up super tight, but just cinch it in a little bit. Usually this is below the knees. And then watch out for the end of the strap because usually it has metal on it. You don't want that tail to hit you. So maybe just hold it, keep track of it. Strap lengths vary. So bring your hip up against the wall. And then plant your feet on the wall. Now, ideally, your wall is something you can press into. I don't think I can safely press into that old door. So I'm going to put my feet wide for a moment and then go back to the straps. You can lift the hips and settle the hips down on your something soft, the folded blanket. And then let your legs extend up the wall. So legs up the wall. Arms may go wide if that feels restful for you. Take a deep inhale. Let it go. Letting the hips settle into their support. And the arm position may need to change for one that is more restful for you. And perhaps we reach the arms overhead, deepening the breath. Returning movement to toes. Returning movement to fingers. Perhaps running the tongue across the fronts of the teeth. And as the breath deepens, consider bending the knees, slide the feet down the wall, and just grab hold of your buckle and draw it the other way to loosen the strap. Carefully rolling to rest on your right side. Let that right arm serve as a pillow. And you might think of the sands of an hourglass, letting the sands from that top side, the ceiling side of the ribs, slide down to the floor side. So there's no rush, no jarring to this sense of ease we're trying to cultivate with the nervous system. Take your time when you do feel ready, pressing into that top hand to return to a seat. So remember, you might have a strap around your legs, sliding that off. Perhaps finding your seat with the second favorite leg on top, and maybe you're still at the wall. You might use that wall for support, working right up against the wall, leaning into it, letting the eyes rest, checking back in with how the breath is feeling within the body. Connecting palms, rubbing them together. And we may slide a hand to the belly and a hand over the upper chest. Sealing our practice with vibrational sound. Deep inhale through the nose. Om. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this practice. Please let me know if you have questions.